talk about chapter 2, which is the means of chronological dating. How do we go about dating what we know about the ancient world? What are the bases for dating? And we have to start with that. If there is a development over time, it involves chronology. And there are two features to this. We have archaeological means of dating. This is absolutely essential in societies for which we have no textual information. And then we have textual means of dating, which is written forms of records. Once writing was developed sometime around 3500 BC in ancient Sumeria. And in this course we deal with BC and AD, so you need to just accept that as well. So what do we know about the two ways of dating? Archaeological investigation involves a number of field procedures, including remote sensing, pedestrian survey, and excavation. Excavation is the main thing everybody thinks about with archaeology, but I like to stress excavation should be the last resort after we've exhausted all of the means, because it involves destroying material to go down. We have to go through the what's above, the stuff we destroy. And secondly, it's incredibly expensive to conduct excavations in a scientific way today. And so there is a focus that tends to drain resources that we might use in better ways otherwise. What's the main thing about archaeological dating? The main thing I would stress there is that we work with assemblages of artifacts and features that come from the same layer. We dig down stratigraphically and we find these assemblages of artifacts and features. Artifacts are movable things that are tools, things that can be moved by humans. Features are more architectural, monumental remains, or remains of houses, or remains of shops, or what have you, but they are not movable. So assemblages are the artifacts and features that are found in the same archaeological context, and they give us a close context that we can date things with. So that's the main feature about archaeological remains. They tend to, let's go on to written remains. These exist in sort of three forms: literary texts, inscribed texts on buildings, on tools, on coins, and then we tend to use coin legends themselves as a third type of text. They are limited, literary texts, by their bias. The fact of the matter is, in antiquity, a very small percentage of people were literate. This is the elites or the nobility, the royal households, the schools of scribes. And they put to writing what they felt was significant for their purposes. And in an aristocratic mindset, there are only three things that are of significance, and that is warfare, religion, and politics. And that's all they talk about. So we're getting basically an aristocratic perspective written for other aristocrats like themselves. So issues that concern us, like what's going on with everyday people, what's going on with women. These things pop into the narrative of the ancient texts only to the extent that they sort of interrupt the narrative. And so we hear very little about mainstream populations. And so that's the limitation of text. Even, in other words, even in the classical period, Greece and Rome, when we have text, we still have to rely extensively on archaeological remains to get a sense of the background sort of hum of history, what was going on in everyday life, what Annales called la longue durée, the long, slow, anonymous, almost boring, imperceptibly changing world of everyday peoples. And so we rely on both to construct our notions of chronology. So that's chapter 2.